welcome back to Sheboygan Stories on Housed and Unheard. I'm your host, Scott Labonte. If you've been following along, you know that a couple episodes ago we sat down with Kyla, the founder of Home Inc Transitional Housing. Today we're taking that conversation one step further, hearing directly from someone who's living here now. Corvid has graciously agreed to share his stories, the ups, the challenges, and what it really means to have a safe place to call home, even if it's temporary. Corvid, first of all, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story.
Yeah, hey, thank you so much, Scott.
I really do appreciate it. And I know it was a little last minute, like I said, and it popped into my head this morning. I try to keep everything planned out each week as to what I'm doing, because I put one out every 2 weeks. And I'm usually on top of it. It's been absolutely chaotic at school, and my brain is just squirrel brain.
Yeah, I can't even imagine, and having to deal with those little ankle biters and all that.
Right, and about 10 o'clock this morning, I was going, oh, shit. And I was like, Corvid.
Yeah.
And so I hurried up. I threw my questions together. I got everything all set. And I didn't put anything out on Facebook about the upcoming one yet until I had confirmation from you that it was okay. And so, all right.
Yeah, no, it's I'm a huge fan of spontaneity, so
I appreciate that.
And I'm very honored. Thank you so much.
All right. So we'll start at the beginning. What was life like before you came to Home Inc?
Ooh, wow, yeah. Life was very difficult. Life was very chaotic. Because I've only been here in Sheboygan for just about 11 months, I think now. I moved back to Wisconsin from Salem, Massachusetts, where I was there for a while. I was homeless there. And then, came back to Wisconsin because I needed to get out of Salem. It was a nightmare.
That's kind of a rough area.
It can be. It's very touristy, and
True.
When I moved there, I had every intention of growing my business. I was a candle maker.
Nice.
And did a lot of things involving nature, with my spiritual path. So, it kind of resonated with that. And so I went there. I had everything with me. And on the first day, because I had a guy steal my ID, it probably wasn't good considering I'm an addict. I was at the bar. But because you have to have your ID out, whatever, he ended up stealing that. And I didn't know that in Salem, you cannot get anything done unless you have an ID.
Welcome to the city. We're going to steal your ID.
Yeah, no, and this was in Missouri.
Oh,
this was on my way. So I ended up my very first day. As soon as I got off the plane, I tried to check into my hotel. And I was working with the housing authority there because for over 10 years, I've had my own place in Milwaukee. I only rented like 3 times. I moved like 3 times in those 10 years. But I needed something new.
right.
Milwaukee got really kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, but unbeknownst to me, because of that one little snafu, my life got completely turned upside down. The day I got off the plane, I couldn't check in my hotel because I didn't have an ID. So,
holy shit!
The very first day that I was in Salem, I was homeless.
Wow.
And I had no idea what to do.
I was going to say, how do you navigate? First time in a new city, no idea where to go, no idea what's safe, what isn't, or where's safe and where isn't.
Yeah, not knowing anything.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it was a giant slap in the face, right. And a giant wake-up call that literally the rug can be pulled out from underneath your feet.
Wow.
Like I said, I had a business. I was a candle maker. And so... that's, heed my warning. Sometimes what I tell people is you can be stable as all get out. And then one day, one thing happens.
One thing, and that's one of the things, and anybody that follows along, I'm sure you've heard this dozens of times already. We're all one crisis away from being in the same predicament.
Exactly.
And that shows it. That really solidifies that effect, that something as, I don't want to say as simple as...
Well, it's something that's pretty fucking dumb.
Right? It throws your whole life into turmoil by one thing.
Yeah, some douche canoe in Missouri steals my ID, and my life is just. Yeah, and I didn't know what to do. I mean, I went to the police station, and they were like, "Oh, you can stay here." I got all these bags and everything with me.
And, what? And I'm supposed to do what with this stuff?
Yeah, and I had stuff coming in from the airport. I had like an antique Indian divider that I used when I would. This thing was like hand carved. Wow. I mean, I had stuff.
Right. I'm like, okay, now what do I do with this stuff?
Yeah, and it's somewhere in Texas. That's all I know.
Wow.
In some airline warehouse.
Collecting
dust.
Who the hell is this thing?
I know. I'm like, what the hell? I mean, it's really gorgeous. Like, what the fuck? No one came back for this shit, But yeah, and so that just started, being as I have been on the street intermittently. Previously to me being stable, I was almost 3 years. I lived down by the river in Milwaukee. So, I mean, it wasn't anything new to me.
Right.
And I had a very chaotic upbringing, to say the least. And, so, I mean, my whole life has been kind of a chaos sandwich, mashed into, a shit sandwich,
right?
Thrown into a dumpster fire. So, whatever
euphemisms
you want to use. Yeah, whatever euphemisms you want to use that aren't favorable, we'll say, kind of is what I was born into. And so, But, so that was unexpected. And I was there, and things really went sideways for me. It's when I really fell off the wagon, unfortunately.
I was going to say, how could you not?
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. It's blowing my mind.
Yeah. And, me being an off and on professional hobo, all I had to do was like put out my tent city radar, and of course found them right away. And they tried to help, but, I ended up slipping back into active drug addiction and active alcoholism, which is really, it destroyed my life. It really did. I mean, in Salem, I lost, 13 years of my Facebook page was hacked.
Wow.
My bank account was hacked. My Instagram was hacked. I mean, I lost every picture, my whole life. So basically, all my socials that I have right now are just what I've built up here in Sheboygan. So as far as the digital world is concerned, just a 52-year-old man just popped out of nowhere.
Hello.
Here's a heavily tattooed freakoid. But yeah, I came back to Milwaukee. I was there for a couple of weeks, and I was like, I can't do this. And, again, me being, actively in addiction, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go somewhere else. And I just literally went, on the map, and I was like, Sheboygan. Oh, God.
Where the hell is Sheboygan?
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And so I bought a bus ticket.
And here you are.
Ended up here. And the very next day after I got here, again, didn't know anybody. Being in active addiction, I started going through withdrawals.
Oh, I suppose.
And I ended up in the hospital the second day I was here. And I was in there for a while.
You were in there a while?
Yeah. It was about 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks.
Damn.
Yeah, I was in a really tough, my mental health was not doing good.
Right.
And, there was just a whole lot of bullshit that was going on.
Yeah.
Inside and outside.
Right.
And I again, dove into my new homeless community,
Right.
and it's quite different here in Sheboygan than most places that I've experienced. And I'm very, very fortunate to, have met Kyla. Kyla basically saved my life. I'm not even going to say basically.
Right.
Basically and technically, she saved my life. And so it was just happenstance. The streets out here in Sheboygan are very unique. As an outsider, coming in, I was expecting, chaos, but all the places that I've been to, the support for the homeless and the marginalized, I was like, well, this is actually pretty okay,
Right.
in comparison to most cities, because there's people here like yourself.
I was going to say, I remember the day that you walked in and paid it forward.
Christmas Day.
I remember that, and I don't want to sound, but you looked a little lost, a little floundering a bit as to, and you had explained at that point, that you were relatively new to here, and and you had just got out of the hospital and stuff like that, and
even Kathleen said, she was like, "You look like you were gonna fucking kill somebody." And I was like,
right?
Really? I was whatever.
And I remember first thing I thought when I saw you was, dude, I love your tattoos.
I know.
I think that was one of the first things I said to you.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I got to tell you, I just love them.
It's a conversation starter, most definitely.
Right. And then the rest is history. We just kind of clicked from there.
Yeah. Yeah. I was very, very grateful for you and Kathleen, because, without Pay It Forward, I would have froze to death. Having to spend the whole day outside, and
right.
It's scary for me now thinking about other people. And it's just like, wow.
I was thinking about that just the other day, actually, before the warming center just opened up. Tuesday?
Yeah.
It's getting cold, and it's going to get colder. And it used to be they could leave there and they could come to us.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's been, they
and,
really,
that's what I did.
Right. And now. Yeah. Where do you go?
I know.
It breaks my heart.
Yeah, open door can only handle.
And they don't open till 9:30ish, whatever it is. The library, okay.
But
that's not it,
There's nothing.
No.
There's really nothing. And, just that whole thing, being there, from Christmas until... It was emotional for a lot of people. I know it was emotional for you and Kathleen. But it was just, one thing after another, unfortunately is very, systematic,
right.
Trying to make it hard on people who have fallen on hard times, who dual diagnoses. These people aren't terrible people. People look at me, with my face tattoos and completely covered. They would never guess in a million years that, I'm a father.
Right.
I'm a veteran, a deployed veteran. I went to Bosnia for almost a year and had to deal with all that genocide. I am a college graduate. I have my degree in graphic design and commercial art with my minor in English. I've seen the Mona Lisa with my own two eyes. I'm a world traveler. I've been all over the place. I lived in Germany for a year. I've lived everywhere from, really almost opulent mansions, giant houses on golf courses, all the way to being in a tent, in the Milwaukee River.
And that's something that, unfortunately, people don't take the time to learn or to find out. They're quick to judge, quick to walk past, and pretend that you don't exist.
Don't ever judge a book by its cover.
That's it. And that's one of the things. And again, the people that follow along and have listened to different episodes, and that's one of the things that I push is, don't judge. Be kind. Say hello.
Yeah.
You never know. And some of the most amazing people I've ever met have been within the four walls of Pay It Forward.
Yeah.
And I will tell the world that, because strength, resilience, man, that's a lot of people don't have that.
No, they don't.
They wouldn't survive a day.
No, they wouldn't.
In some of the shit that you went through.
Exactly. And that's what boggles me.
Right.
Boggles me about the mayor.
But yet
it boggles me about what he does. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's quite all right.
Yeah. Why would you want to disenfranchise the disenfranchised even more. Why would you want to make life a living hell?
Right.
Even more than, it's like being in the basement of hell. I guess is the best way I can, describe it. And, the little bit of resources in this, I have a hard time calling it a city because, if you can walk around the city in one day, that's not a city.
Right.
That's like a commonwealth.
It's big compared to where I came from.
Oh, God, really? I know.
is.
Yeah, you Wisconsin people. Let me tell you.
I'm a Michigan person.
Oh, geez. Okay. Yes, yeah, no, I've never been to Michigan. That's
5.5 hours north of here, actually, up in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, that sounds great.
It is. It's beautiful. Like with the whole disenfranchising, really making it tough on the people. Thinking about like a city as like a wolf pack per se.
Yeah,
you're
it's supposed to
only
be.
as strong as your weakest link.
Bro, I've been saying that for so long.
Take care of your weakest link.
Exactly. And it's just, that is the one thing that absolutely just flips my lid. Like, it's just logically.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Just use your critical thinking skills. Being able to look at things on a bigger picture other than just your political career,
right.
Other than just how things look right now. If you want this city to flourish, if you want this town to flourish,
right?
You know what I mean? This speck on the map, it's not that hard.
It isn't.
There's a considerable amount of people that are homeless. I'll be honest with you. If you 2 people that are homeless in this city, that's still too many. Yeah,
100%
absolutely. But in such a place like this, it boggles my mind.
It does.
How either you're, like I said, as an outsider, how either you're on the side of people and you care about people, or you just are concerned about those booze cruises.
Right.
And how the city appears. Well, Mr. Mayor, if I may, which I know you probably don't listen because from what I've heard, you don't give a shit. You want to clean up the city? Then allow people like Kyla and Home Inc. to flourish.
And pay it forward. Had they not shut down our building, we'd still be doing.
I know.
We'd still be going strong.
I know. And I'm very, very lucky. Just the cards. I've done my time. It's it's about time. I got a break.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
But I still, I work hard for this place. I a lot of times, I'm kind of the right hand man of Kyla,
right.
Because I appreciate her that much, and because this place is absolutely a godsend.
Oh, it is. I agree.
But unfortunately, we can't house everybody.
Right.
We want to be able to open up more floors, but, we need community support, and it's going to be, it's usually the same faces that I see. The ones that were doing it before, the ones that are doing it now, in the best way that they can.
Right.
But with Home Inc., it has been a lifesaver.
Right. And that was one of the things why I wanted to interview Kyla a couple weeks ago. I really wanted to get her.
Yeah, that was a great interview.
Voice out. I want people to know and understand that this really is an amazing program. This deserves a whole lot of community support, and it needs a whole lot of community support. We had amazing support at Pay It Forward.
Yeah.
And
you guys worked hard though, man.
We did. We worked hard for what we had.
I wasn't one of those guys who just laid around all day and watched TV.
Right.
I wanted to be a part, and that's why I got so close to you.
And that's what helped us flourish. Was we had people like you that were willing to step up and say, "Hey, I know this needs to be done." You didn't ask what needed to be done. You're just, all right, let's just get up and do it. And I'm hoping that this amazing community that stepped up and helped us will step up and help her.
Exactly.
She's not really, I don't want to say picking up where we left off, because she's taking it further than we did.
Yeah.
She's on an entirely different level. And something we had talked about way back in the beginning when this whole, the whole pay it forward thing came to fruition. It was okay, lofty dreams at that point. We were talking about having a day center. We were talking about having transitional housing and what that would look like. And I still have all my plans and stuff like that written up. But once we got in and we started digging our hands into it, and we realized, holy shit, there's a lot to it. And so we opted.
Like ridiculously.
Right. We opted not to spread
It's
ourselves.
almost comical. Yeah.
We knew that would spread us too thin, and we wouldn't be able to help where we were needed the most.
Yeah.
So we opted, okay, we're just going to, that's off the table. Mm-hmm. Let's move forward with what we can do and go from there. Mm-hmm. And she's taking it that step further and helping in so many amazing ways.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I met her. Being out on the streets and, actively using, actively drinking, and she'd still come up and, she would go around and just, give us water or just, sit down and talk with you. And that's how it all started, and then all of a sudden, boom, I heard she had this place and I was like, damn, okay. Well,
right.
That just came out of nowhere. But, when you've been out there and you've seen the true nature of people, mm-hmm. and you get to understand things in a broader way. You have to.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to know who you can trust. You have to know who's a confidant. You have to be very discerning. Just simply because, all of us have, our own traumas. We all have our own issues that we've had to deal with.
And we've all done shit we're not proud of.
Exactly. Everybody has.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Yeah. No one's immune to that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who you are.
Right.
And so, but one day it was just, I'm laying down in this loading dock, and I had just put a piece of wood in like my sleeping bag, and because somebody stole my freaking tent. And I was just, the night before it was bad. And, I woke up and I woke up to Kyla standing over me and just being like, oh my God, it's Corvid. And I was like, what? And she was like, you do not look good. And I was like, I probably don't.
Yeah. Got to see from this side.
Yeah. And the second I woke up, I started going through withdrawals for alcohol. But,
right.
My buddy, luckily, he was already on it before I even, he came back with, a pint of, booze. And so I was able to drink that. She's like, don't drink that. And I was like, I have to, or else I'm going to,
this is not going to end well.
Yeah, I'm going to, I have a history of seizures and things like that. And, so, and I was already feeling that way. So, I had to in order to just,
right.
It's not good. And, she just miraculously, it took me a while to get up and be able to stand. And, she took me to her truck and, took me straight. I don't know. I mean, the whole day that whole part was kind of, it's still a blur.
I was going to say a little foggy.
Yeah, it's still a little blur. I actually don't remember if it was an ambulance that she had to call or if she took me. So I apologize, Kyla. I'm so sorry. But I'm sure you remember the way you looked at me. You were like, oh my God, you're going to die. And I was like, nah. And that's the thing is that, when you're out there and, I have CPTSD. And, some from my childhood, but mostly from my military service. Mm-hmm. And other diagnoses I have as well. But, there's, and I've always been a ravenous reader, so about, a lot of, I like to go down the rabbit hole. I like to,
me too.
You know what I mean? I really like to know what's underneath, and it's really opened my mind to a lot. I'm very, very glad of my wisdom and my knowledge of bigger things that
absolutely.
most people don't even
Kathleen asked me that sometimes. Every once in a while, I'll talk about something because I do the same thing. I go down rabbit holes, and and then the more I read, the more I want to know. So the more rabbit holes that I chase, and I'll talk about something, and she'll look at me. She goes, "Not only how do you know that, but why do you know that?" I'm like, "I just do. I don't know. It's just there."
Why did you do that to yourself?
Right.
I know, I get that. But that's what I'm saying. And then I get thrown in like some weird existential like breakdown, But, at that point, I was diagnosed with cirrhosis a few years ago, I think about 4 years ago. I was sober for about 3 years, in Milwaukee, and just a series of unfortunate events happened and ended up slowly, sliding back. From that, I was at the Dewey Center, actually, is where I went, and did IOP and PHP, which is, for those of you who don't know, it's partial hospitalization programming, where you go in every day. It's a longer period of time, and then you graduate to IOP, which is an intensive outpatient, and that's a little less rigorous. But I was very, very lucky because I had just stopped caring again, and was going to lose my apartment. It was a mutual termination of lease, and I had nowhere to go. So they had housing at Dewey Center. It's the alumni house. I applied for that, and I got in there, and I was there for 4 months, and that's where I, my candles were doing great. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was making decent money, selling from everywhere, Germany, Switzerland, all over the U.S. My very first order was from Germany.
Wow, nice.
It wasn't even like someplace. It wasn't even like
it wasn't like
somebody
a local,
here.
somebody.
Yeah, it wasn't even like one of my buddies like, hey, no, it was someone who was just like, I would like to buy some of your candles.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and then so it's just been the last 2 years to almost 3 years. It's just been up and down, and that's another thing that I'm very, very grateful for with Home Inc. Is that Kyla has had her own dilemmas.
Right.
In the past, she has many, many years, like 22 or 24 years or something like that. And so I draw a lot of inspiration from that. But, here at Home Inc., we've got so many different plans and programs and things like that. She has really implemented, she's gone out of her way. She has literally dropped everything. She goes home and she became a SMART facilitator. If people who don't know SMART, I forget the acronym, but it's another, it's not like NA or AA, it's more like logic-based.
Right.
More, you know what I mean?
I was going to say I used to know what it was, but it's...
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I haven't had enough coffee today. I think that's the issue. I'm going to blame it on coffee. Lack of coffee, which is why I'm drinking it now, even though it's 8 o'clock at night, whatever. Right. So I, she's implemented things like she got her, got to be a facilitator for SMART. So we do SMART once a week. We do have mandatory meetings that we do here. We also have, art in recovery here, which is done by Crystal.
Crystal, that was last week's.
Yeah, Crystal Marshall. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, I didn't see that one yet.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I read her last week.
Yeah, she does, today, we were in here, and
nice.
She does, so that's, it's
she's
just
amazing, too.
Yeah, and then, like, every morning, I really like the morning meetings that we have. It's called New Day. We meet at 9 o'clock in the conference room, and, she has a sheet that has everything, if you need to, like, plan your day hour by hour.
Nice.
We think, like, what are our top priorities for today? We write those down and we share them. And then a positive affirmation that we can carry throughout the day. You know what I mean?
Beautiful.
Yeah. So it's a really nice way to start the day.
Oh, it is. And that's one of the things, too. Something like that helps because, if you're looking, and I talk about this a lot, too, okay, I got to do this, and this. That's overwhelming as all hell. You know, you get something like that. Even, you know, you said she's got like stuff you can write down, this and that. But even bouncing it off of somebody else and saying, you know, okay, I got to do, you know, all of this stuff. And in your mind, you're going, oh, shit, not possible. It helps just to bounce it off of somebody else, or even better, write it down. And you can break it down to what's right in front of me right now. What do I need to do right now? The rest of it, it goes away for now.
Exactly.
I need to do this before I worry about anything.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, not everybody here used to be an addict or an alcoholic as well. Right. So, you know what I mean? It's just as long as you're homeless. If you've been chronically homeless, or, you know, experienced any amount of time, or the fear of going, you know, homeless. So, but for someone like me and a lot of the people here, you know, the programs that she's implemented here are absolutely, they're wonderful. You know, we've got smart recovery. You know, we're doing also different classes that she's going to be facilitating. We started anger management,
nice,
which has been pretty in depth, and you know, since we started, you know, it's something that, you know, we're going to keep going, and it's like a curriculum. So, you know, it's not just it's not a flop house.
I was just going to say, she didn't say, here's a room for you, stay there, do what you need to do.
Yeah, and just lay there all day and cry.
Right.
No.
No, it doesn't work that way.
No, I mean, she has the biggest heart.
She does.
She really does. I mean, it's immense for such a little woman. She's got
she's all yay big.
Yeah, I know. She's just like a walking heart, a walking bleeding heart. Yep. You know what I mean? And it really takes that. You know, I commend, you know, her patience,
absolutely,
and
her dedication,
compassion, her empathy, and God, there's just not enough things I can say.
I agree.
You know, like I said, she literally saved my life. And, you know, and then now, you know, when you get to move in here, we realize, you know, it takes a little bit of adjusting, and, you know, we give people a couple days when they move in, and then
you got to acclimate. You got to, you know,
yeah, because we realize, and, you know, sometimes it's hard for people to get out of that homeless mentality.
That's a huge step.
Yeah, it really, really is.
It took me a little while to see how big of a step that was, how much of a transition it really was. Call me naive, call me protected, call me privileged, if you. I don't know what term to use. I really don't.
Well, I mean, it's not like you just all the, you know, your fortune just fell in your lap. I mean, you know what I mean. You and Kathleen both have worked very hard.
And I've lived in my truck.
Yeah.
I did. I was homeless. I
really?
lived in my truck for a while.
I didn't know that.
Before Kathleen and I got together, I got thrown out of my house by my ex-wife, and
that happens.
I had nowhere to go. You know, I had the choice: either I could afford a place to live, or I could afford to eat, and I like to eat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I still had a truck, thankfully. So it was full-size Ford pickup. So the seat was pretty decent. That was my bed for an entire summer.
Yeah, dude. If I had a car when I was out there, man, I'm fine.
That was it. You know, I was good to go. And then thankfully, you know, Kathleen let this strange guy into her house.
Yeah, I know, right? The rest is history.
Right, and that was, you know, 20 years later, we're still at it.
Yep. Oh, God. She's a riot. I love Kathleen, too.
Right. She puts up with a lot of my shit, so it works.
I'm sure it's mutual, dude. Come on.
It is, I assure you.
Come on, I know. I see it in her eyes.
There might be a little fire behind those eyes.
Just a skosh. Just a skosh. But, yeah, so, I mean, it's just, you know, not only do we have, like, programming, you know, mandatory meetings, but then we're also, it's required as well for folks to go to, for us to go to Lighthouse and attend meetings there as well.
Nice.
As it stands, we're, you know, at least 4 a week. And that's also been a real gift to us as well, because it's, you know, it's so close. It's like a 10-minute walk.
Oh, absolutely. And that just that again reiterates it takes a village.
Yeah.
Nobody can do this alone.
Exactly. And, you know, and that's one of the hardest things, not only for myself, but for a lot of other people is to ask for help.
Oh, it's tough.
It's because we're independent. We don't
Mm-hmm.
want to be. We don't want pity.
Mm-mm.
We don't want pity.
No, do not throw your pity.
Yeah, exactly. And, but that's one of the things that Kyla always says, and it's exactly, it's 100% true. Is that she provides a hand up, not a handout.
Right.
And that's one thing I want people to know. I want the city to know. I want the board of directors to know that she puts blood, sweat, and tears and thousands of her own dollars to make this place run.
Oh, absolutely.
And, I really hope that all of those entities, especially the city, understands that if this place, if they, were forced to do what happened with Pay It Forward, I would be devastated. I don't know what I seriously, I don't know what I would do.
Right.
And it's scary.
Oh, absolutely.
It's really scary because, you get into, this opportunity, and the goal is, because it is just transitional. You have resources.
Right.
At your expense. I mean, at your expense. Sorry, that's wrong sense of word. At your disposal.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyway, English minor, my butt. But Kyla she's a walking encyclopedia of resources and therapists.
Right.
But the end goal is to save up money for those who have a job or who are on SSI, SSDI,
Right.
like myself, to be able to save up. The rent here is very, very affordable, and so it gives you that chance to save up your money. Hopefully, working with Lakeshore Cap, I know they're probably just inundated because I've been,
The waiting list is rather long.
Yeah, I know. So. But I mean, anything else, I look at it as, out there is no future.
Mm.
There is no future. The only thing you're going to end up being, as they say in AA, is jails, institutions, and death.
Right. You end up as a statistic.
Yep. And I said this years ago when I found out I had cirrhosis because of my drinking. I was like, I don't want to be a statistic anymore,
Right.
But, my mental health deteriorated so bad that, I was doing so much drugs and drinking so much. I was hoping something would give out.
Right, yeah.
Just because.
Because at that point, what other options are there?
Exactly.
Or at least in your mind, you're thinking that this is it. This is all there is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that happened, when I was in Milwaukee. I had a wife, and they did something similar. The city came down and, the sheriff's department, and destroyed all of our houses. And they had a program called Project, or was it Project, or what was it? Something. Anyway, I forget what it was called. Coffee. And they, because, we weren't in the eyes of the law married, they put her on one side of Milwaukee and me on the other, and, we were so feral. We lived out there for 3 years.
Right.
They gave us a government phone, and we didn't know what the hell to do. We didn't know how to contact each other or anything like that, and, just because we were separated, and she was in, the south side of Milwaukee, which is pretty rough, and I was lucky I got to sit on the east side of Milwaukee, which is a lot more tolerable for someone. And she just lost all hope, and got a part-time job, saved up her money. One night she went and got her favorite bottle of wine, drank her favorite bottle of wine, and then shot herself in the face.
Ouch.
And I didn't find out for days after that. So, I'd really like for anybody that listens to this podcast to understand that this isn't just, a two-dimensional thing that's going on here. It's not, like I've said on Facebook, you know what I mean? I'm not a nuisance. I'm not an eyesore. Well, I mean, maybe an eyesore. Yeah. I know. I have those face tattoos. And, but they, like I said, no one in a million years would think that I've done just those things. Right. Not to mention, all of the nonprofit work I did for 10 years. Right. After I got out of the Army. And there's just so much out there right now, nationally, but locally too, I would really, really, really like to encourage people to, maybe possibly hear my voice, the voice of other people, that you have and that you will interview, and realize that, I'm a human being.
Absolutely.
I used to live just like you. I was quote unquote normal.
Normal is just a setting on a dryer.
Exactly. I think normal and perfect need to be eradicated from the human vernacular.
Absolutely agree.
But yeah, and whatever that you think it is, just because we don't fit the norm. Mm-hmm. But the thing about it is, though, is that we have not been allowed.
Right.
We have not been allowed. We have not been afforded opportunities to improve, to get out of addiction, to get out of unmedicated, health issues. Luckily, here at Home Inc, we don't have food insecurity. We have like an open pantry that you can, a wonderful community, man. So many people actually just to donate to Pay It Forward. They're
I'm hoping they continue.
Oh yeah, they're really excited, and so we always have food here. Good. And actually, sometimes they really surprise us. Especially with, I'm a huge fresh fruits and vegetable kind of guy, so I'm not a big meat eater, but my doctor's like, I need to eat steak, and I'm like, I don't really, I'm like, I like fish. It's like, oh, fish is even better. But every time I go to get fish, it's like, I'm paying $25 for that? What the hell?
Right.
Is this thing going to give me a back rub before I cook it? Like, oh, that's some talented tilapia. And so, yeah. But, here at Home Inc, I mean, you have your own room. Mm-hmm. You have your own refrigerator in your room.
Right.
So that way everyone, you don't have to worry about a giant communal refrigerator where you have to put your name on everything. We
remember those days.
Oh God. Tell me about it. Right. Those were the days.
Yeah. Who ate my shit?
I know. Yeah. Yeah. God damn it. Yeah. So, and it's just fantastic. It really is. Everyone here has been lucky enough to, either Henry, the owner of the building, he's usually able to supply like TVs and things like that, and because he's just got so much stuff. He's been here for
he's been here forever.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, he was born here.
I was going to say, he's on a historical registry, too.
Yeah, pretty much. Love you, Henry, but, yeah, you old fart. Anyway, just poking fun, he knows I like to. But, yeah, so, we really do our best. And that's also another thing that I'd like to point out to the city and all those who should be listening. We have a community here. Mm-hmm. We have a whole community up here where, regardless of whether you're an addict or not, you can still, whomever you're comfortable with, you can knock on their door and come in and sit down.
Right.
I
did that the other day. I came and knocked on your door and just to say hi.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? And that's what we do here, is to elevate people.
Right.
because, now I'm not afraid to say it, but it's just, I need help.
Absolutely. We all do.
Exactly. And so that's something that's a term I don't dismiss or turn away from.
Right.
Because it's impossible this day and age. So, but like I was saying before, we're not unsightly. We're not a nuisance.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like, we're a flock of seagulls that just swoop down and steal people's sandwiches. That's a nuisance.
Yes.
Trust me, being from Massachusetts. Ugh. Anyway, coming back from Massachusetts, I should say. Damn seagulls. But, each person that's out there is a soul.
Mm-hmm.
There's a story. They have a mom. They have a dad. They might have kids.
I was gonna say brothers, sisters, kids.
Exactly. They matter
Mm-hmm.
just as much as the people who want to look down on us.
Mm-hmm.
The people who want to, well, just to be frank, who are just being judgmental dicks.
Mm-hmm. And I've run across a few of them. Kathleen and I were at a meeting one time, and we ran across, most of them were there that were pretty decent, but there was a couple that were the most judgmental, entitled people I've ever met in my entire life. And I was so disgusted when I left there. I'm usually pretty patient, pretty tolerant. I'm kind of laid back. Anybody that knows me, I'm pretty passive.
Oh yeah, no, you're super chill, bro.
And I left there just livid. I was wild. I want. My wife was like, "We need to go." I'm like, "Yeah, we need to go."
Kathleen, like, where's the muzzle?
Right. I'm like, yeah.
I don't want him biting anybody.
But that's also part. That's possible. I'm not going to write that one off.
Hey man, I've been there, dude. Trust me, more times than I like to admit.
And that's part of why I want to do this podcast. That's why I got into this. I want to help educate, and I want to bring awareness, and I want to hopefully release some of the stigma that's attached to being homeless.
Exactly.
Nobody's going to bite you.
Yeah.
Nobody, everybody's like, and I get, people fear the unknown.
Yeah.
And to them, homeless is an unknown. And, if you see somebody all curled up in a blanket, you don't know a whole lot about that person.
Yeah.
I get the whole fear piece of it.
Yeah, and it's the whole indoctrination, the societal indoctrination.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
To a point.
To a point.
Say hello. Acknowledge existence. It takes 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's like, well, they might be dangerous. They might this and most people don't realize that, like, the homeless population are 90% more likely to be victims of a crime than they are to be the perpetrators of the crime.
I will tell you that much right now. That is,
right,
if not 95,
right,
because we're considered, expendable. Mm-hmm. We're considered not
Absolutely.
human.
Yep.
We're considered less than, and I'm sorry to. Burst your bubble, but, I'm a father of 27-year-old twins.
Right.
One of my sons is a neuroscientist, and the other one's a mathematician professor. So,
right.
You can't sit there and say that I wasn't a good father.
Right. Absolutely.
I paid off my student loans before I paid theirs off. I'm going to be paying their crap off for the rest of my fucking life.
Right.
But anyway, so... there's just, it's mind-boggling, and, the current state of affairs, within the U.S., it's unfortunate, and I'm not knocking anybody's opinion or what they believe in, to a point, but, what if that was your daughter?
Right.
What if that was your son? What if that was... a member of your family?
Mm-hmm.
Would you treat them differently?
Right. Any less than human just because of the circumstance?
Yeah. Or would you, still crap on their chest?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's another big thing that I push. Homelessness, being homeless, does not define you.
Yeah,
It is
exactly.
not who you are. It is. I stress in everything. It's our peers experiencing homeless. It's a temporary state. It is not who you are.
Exactly, and that's one thing to those who are listening. I would like to just say, something encouraging is that just to realize, trust me, I've been through enough, to know that this is absolutely true. 9.5 times out of 10, what you worry about is not going to happen.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So keep your head up. Try to make a positive. Make good decisions, as we say.
Right.
As best as you can. Yeah, because I know I have this one friend out there. He is like, he's the guy that I really trust. He's just a solid dude, and we've been trying to get him in here, and but he's like, I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I'm ready. Because he doesn't want to get sober.
All right. And I can respect that.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? But last time I talked to him, because Kyla's been talking to him, but I went up to him, and we have our own little special handshake that we do. And, it's like, hey, are you thinking about coming up there? And he's like, yeah, well, actually, I've been kind of thinking about it. And I was like, yeah, that's what I thought.
That's it. You got that bug in there.
Yeah.
That's it.
I was like, bro, I would love to have you on the floor. Like, you're solid. You know what I mean?
Right.
And just because he has a singular drug problem that he's not entirely willing to give up, and that's also the other thing that people need to realize is that you have to want it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do it
Right.
for anybody else.
Nope, it does not work.
It does not work. Trust me, I've tried it.
Mm-hmm.
I've had ex-girlfriends, and I go there, and I'm just doing it just
To appease them.
Yeah, exactly.
And it
you know what I mean?
work.
Just to it never works, dude. It never works. I've tried everything. I've tried it all. I've done it all at least 5 times, and then I was like, maybe I shouldn't do that anymore.
But maybe once more just to make sure.
Just to double check. At the heart of it, you wouldn't. We got a guy who's an amazing artist. He does phenomenal stuff with spray paint. He does some great art. I'm a professional artist as well. I've had art shows at the Pfister in Milwaukee, which is, I've sold my art all over the world. Especially there was a period of time where a lot of different tattoo shops around the U.S. wanted to buy my art. Nice. So, yeah, it's something that, and that for me that's what really sucked is I didn't have the space to. Painting for me has always been an emotional release, like a venting. Like a quiet venting.
I get that. I do that with my music.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a creator, an artist of any sort.
Yeah.
We do it for deeper reasons. You know what I mean? Unless you're using auto-tune.
I was going to say
like,
the music is my out. That's when things are stressful, when things are overwhelming. I pick up a guitar and it's gone.
Yep.
You get it.
Yep. For me, it's picking up a brush or picking up my tattoo gun, or,
right?
As it stands right now. But my goal is to get my own place. This is transitional housing, and everyone here realizes that. Mm-hmm. But again, this is something that I cannot reiterate enough. It's something that the city. I know I keep saying this, but they really do need to know that the program that is going on here, we shouldn't be threatened.
Right.
At all.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have no idea how much stress that puts on Kyla and how much stress it puts on us.
Right.
Because we're not doing anything inappropriate. We're not doing anything that would warrant any of this ire. You know what I mean?
Right.
They just assume.
In fact, quite the opposite.
Yeah.
You're taking the steps to better your life, to move on, to I don't know how to, I don't want to say
To
become
evolve.
right. I don't want to use the term to become a productive citizen, because I'm not trying to say that you're not.
No, I know what you mean. But yeah,
by their standards.
Exactly. Yes.
You're trying, but yet they keep thwarting that. And and trust me, I get it. We went through the same shit with Pay It Forward.
I know.
Every step that we take forward, they'd try to knock us back too.
Exactly.
And it's frustrating as hell.
Yeah.
And you're just trying
It's actually maddening.
It is. It is. Yeah. And that's partially why we're still on our break. We're trying to mentally recoup, trying to figure stuff out. And like I mentioned before, we're down, but we're not out. We're still here.
Yep. Oh, I will. Yes. And whenever this sparks back up, man, I'm gonna be your number one volunteer, bro.
Awesome.
Wherever you need a nailed, I'll be there. You need a rug beaten outside, I'll be out there with a broom like a babushka.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So, and that's just one thing, is that the powers that be, those who are in charge of said legislation, rules, blah, 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 all that good happy crap, legalese, why would you want to make something positive fail?
Right.
Why would you threaten? And that's basically what they're doing, is threatening. Mm-hmm. They're threatening the existence of this program.
Right.
Just like what they did with Pay It Forward.
Yep.
I know that you guys were asking for the mayor to come and just keep for that whole time.
Never showed up.
He only showed up after you guys closed.
Yeah, and to an external activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is absolute horseshit.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I mean, a steamy pile of dick tips. Just.
Yep.
That's disgusting. And for him to have these views, oh, I want this to be a freaking tourist town, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? If you don't want it to be unsightly, don't make programs like this fail.
Right.
Don't stand in the way of programs like Pay It Forward.
That are trying to improve people's lives.
Exactly.
Yes.
You don't want to see us hanging around all day? Let Pay It Forward open up again. And people have a place to go, so they're not freezing their freaking asses off out there during the winter.
Yep.
And it's just, you guys, some of these people, it's, I've faced this in so many cities throughout my life, because I've traveled most of the U.S., and, it's just a societal thing. I mean, people are indoctrinated to think this way.
Right.
And as opposed to seeing a problem that can be fixed, they just want the problem to go away.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. I mean, what are you going to do? Do a whole, Trump concentration camp full of fucking homeless people? That's the only way you're going to, quote unquote, eradicate the problem. No, that's not it. That is so not it. And
well, one of the things at that meeting that got me fired up was they talked about busing people out of Sheboygan.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, seriously?
Like, what is this, Congress? Is this the Senate? What the fuck?
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I couldn't be there.
Dude, and most of these people that I've met, they've lived here their whole lives. They have family. They have generations that have lived
There's
here.
ties to Sheboygan.
Exactly. These people and their families, a lot of them have been, pinnacles, sometimes, in the greater community.
Right.
There's, you can't wash that away.
Right. And that's one of the things that's unfortunately one of the mindsets that unfortunately the city officials have. They have the mindset that if you have programs like this that are in existence, programs like Pay It Forward that are doing stuff, they have the mindset that if you have programs like that in operation, that's going to bring in more people that need those resources, thinking, hey, they can help us. They can and they get inundated with a larger population, and they don't want that. So they try to stop these programs, thinking that if they don't have them, more people aren't coming in, not realizing that of the 500 some intakes that we've done at Pay It Forward, and everybody had their individual intakes. There was never anything duplicated.
Yeah.
Less than like 5% of those people were from outside of Sheboygan.
Yeah. I know. There was like
nobody's busing people in. Nobody's,
I know.
They're not coming in from any place else saying, hey, they can help. They can, I'm going to go there because they've got resources.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
No, I just want to let everyone know I did not come on a Colombian drug raft. I just, I am a U.S. citizen, and and I just happened to pop back into Wisconsin, but that's beneath subhuman.
Mm-hmm. It is,
in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
For anybody to have that. We don't like something. Well, let's just make it go away. What kind of bullshit are you on, bro?
Right. That's not the way this works.
And it's. I just want to shake and baby syndrome all these people who want to go, against any of these things. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you want us to not be out there. Mm-hmm. Allow us to flourish. Right. Don't be up Kyla's ass.
Give us the opportunity.
Yes. To prove you wrong and to show that these people, us, we're worth it. People want, we have, poor Kyla, she's had so many applications, but there's only so much room that we have, and there's a lot of rules here.
Oh, absolutely.
And that sometimes people don't like them.
People aren't ready to follow. We ran into that not too long ago.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, we've had a few people who couldn't follow the rules.
However well-intentioned, some people are not ready to follow the rules.
Exactly.
And there has to be rules.
There has to be, especially in a situation like this, because, everyone's coming from, if they've been out there for years, I know people right now who have been on the floor for a little bit, and they're still living. And they still have like that homeless mindset. Oh yeah. Their rooms are like categorized like it was in their tent. Right. And I see that. Most people would be like, well, that's a weird way to do it. No, it's because that's how you did it in your tent.
You had to.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, here's this and here's that and here's that. And it's just, and also, there's always that fear. Nobody likes that lingering in the back of your head fear where maybe possibly the other shoe can drop. Right. And that's why people don't want to let go of that possibility. Mm-hmm. And that actually can stifle somebody as well.
But in that defense, not that I want to, I guess, defend that mindset. Mm-hmm. But when you're on the streets, when you're on the streets and when you're in that survival mode, and when you're just trying to get through, you get kicked around so often, and so many people treat you
every day
complete garbage. Yeah, it's hard not to it's hard to trust people, to think that there are genuine people out there that are trying to help, that are willing to help, to step up, to say, "Hey, I've got your back, man." Yeah. Yeah. It takes a little while for that wall to crumble.
It really does.
I saw a lot of that, even at Pay It Forward, just getting to know people, getting to people to let me into their world.
Mm-hmm. It takes time, man. Even for another homeless person to talk to another homeless person, like, you always have to be guarded. Mm-hmm. You always have to, like, why is this person talking to me? They want to know what I have. They want to know what they can steal.
What is the motivation behind this?
Exactly. You know what I mean? Yeah. And nobody should live like that. I mean, do you know how much cortisol your body pumps out? Right. And all these other stress hormones, and that can just. I've met people and I'm like, you're 35? Jesus, you look like you're 60. Right. You ever heard of
Travel a rough
lotion?
road, man.
No, I'm just kidding. Maybe you should hit up, see if someone's got some lotion because you're looking kind of leathery. Well, I told people my age, and they're like, "No,
Right.
So, but yes, I'm very beautiful. If there's any ladies listening, I'm just kidding.
I have a face for radio, so this works.
Yeah, exactly. I think most people would say that about me too. Yeah, I don't know, but it saddens me, and that's not only does it sadden me, it worries me for mankind.
Right.
And I'm not trying to rip too hard on anybody's religious beliefs, but sadly enough, even inter-organizations, there's other organizations that we've tried to work with, and they end up being backstabbers.
Mm-hmm.
They end up having an ulterior motive to our detriment.
Oh, yeah.
And then they want to go into the community and spread horrible, disgusting lies.
Yep.
That they hear. I don't know. They make it up in their own head or something.
They fabricated it somewhere.
I think every single major problem that we've had has been because of the Christian religion. Everyone's God. Oh, God spoke to me last night. It's like, if I said that, man, they'd have me back in, Jesus. You know what I mean?
We'll get a room ready for you.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's just, it's so frustrating for me because I am not a Christian. I've never been a Christian. I was raised to be Catholic, and I'm still a recovering Catholic. Recovering from a lot of things. And, it's just, and someone like Kyla, who, I've expressed this to her. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with the Christians in this town? I walk around with my beliefs, believe in yourself, from a clothing company. That's their main logo, but they use a bit of shock factor to get people to look.
Right.
And some people would say, I've been called a godless heathen. Oh, I'm a Satanist. Oh, I'm this and I'm that. And I'm just like, you have no idea anything about me. So you can stuff your, pre-assigned judgments, especially for someone like me. There's no one in Sheboygan that looks like me. So, yeah, when people see you're not from around these parts. Nope. Nope.
How could you tell?
I know. Yeah. Anyway, but it's I forget what we were talking about. I apologize.
No worries.
My mind went in about 10 different areas. Oh no. So and that's one thing that is I've talked to Kyle about this, and some of the most catty, backstabbing, two-faced people are supposed to be working with each other.
Right.
But other people are just like, well, no, these are my people and this is my resource. And it's just like, if we were able to, if we all banded together and stopped doing this petty bullshit that some people want to do and think that they're more holier than thou, or, you know what I mean? It's just whatever kind of bullshit rattles around in that tin can they call a brain.
Right.
Singular being.
We ran into a lot of that as well, and it's frustrating. We're all fighting the same battles.
Yeah.
We're all in the same trench. Unfortunately, egos get in the way.
Egos and pride.
A lot.
Egos and pride.
And you summed it up, when you said, well, these are my resources, or man, I heard that a lot.
Yeah.
It may not directly per se, but
sometimes,
right? But a whole lot of, well, we're doing that. Why do you need to do something like that? Or that's where we step in, and that's we're fighting the same frickin' battle.
Exactly. And that was one thing that when we did that night out, the sleep out, There's all these organizations there, and I went to every table, and I was like, why can't we all just work along together? It was like, if we all banded together, we would make one super group. It'd be like, what was it, the GoBots or whatever,
Right.
like every little piece made this giant robot.
Yep.
Why can't we just make this giant robot and be like city officials, mayor, rah,
Right.
we are Destructitron, anyway, but that's probably a bad euphemism. But,
That's all right. It works.
in talking to Kyla, she reminds me very closely of one of my dearest friends who is Christian and never judged me for my beliefs, never hated me, never passed judgment, and that's one thing that someone who's read the Bible 3 times, and I've done extensive, I consider myself a religious scholar, and within my own belief system, I have the title of illuminator, which means I'm a teacher. So, but like with Kyla, she reminds me very much of one of my closest friends, Jamie, who was my sponsor in Milwaukee, and I was sober for like 3 years. And, Kyla is, she gets so upset, because sometimes I'm like, what the hell's wrong with your people?
Right.
And she's like, and very rightly so, she's like, that's not walking the path.
Right.
Their Lord and Savior, didn't say, God, Christ wasn't Christian, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? The word, Christian came from Christ. You know what I mean? And it's just, it saddens me too within that religion how much they have just bastardized, flipped things around. And, I swear to God, if I hear one more, God spoke to me last night, I'm going to throw myself out of a second-story window. Ease up on the God thing.
Right.
Ease up, bro, okay? Because, sorry, that's not the end-all and be-all,
Right. That's part of why we were not a religious organization or affiliated with any kind of religious organizations.
Yeah. And that's what, sometimes we get flack for that because we're not a faith-based organization. No, this is for everybody.
Right.
And that's one thing Kyla understands, that most of these freaking dumbass butt nuggets out there don't get, is that we all come from different perspectives.
Right.
We all come from different views. Yep. We all come from different education, and we're all at different levels in our life. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And she understands that.
Right.
And I consider her to be a true Christian. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, she's never heard me say one bad thing, about what she believes in, and I don't, even though, that keeps her sober, that keeps her happy. Mm-hmm. That's something, you know what I mean? Who am I to shit on that?
Right.
You know what I mean? And for someone to crap on me, like I said, a little earlier, I've been called a godless heathen, a Satanist, you name it. Yeah. And it makes me crack up. It really, really does. When people, they think they're gonna cut to the quick and make me. I'm just like, you're missing a chromosome, aren't you? Yeah, pretty sure. So, but people just don't understand that Kyla is genuine. She's the real deal Holyfield. Mm-hmm. Okay, she doesn't even get paid.
Right.
For this position. This is voluntary.
Yep.
This is her program. This is her dream. This is her vision. And that, it pisses me off to no end when city officials and people such as that in these positions of power, quote unquote, have some weird, skewed view of what is trying to flourish here. Mm-hmm. You want us off the streets? You want us to be positive members of this society? Well, you should be behind this program, right. 120%. You people should be not looking to shut anybody down or, shit on our parade. because like I said before, nobody out there knows, except for maybe me. I've been here the longest,
Right.
and I've developed a close relationship, with Kyla. She's someone I can come and talk to about anything. You know what I mean? And she's so knowledgeable. She's so wise, and like I said, I know people say it a million times, but she's a big heart.
She does.
And she gains all that from, her religion. She walks the walk and talks the talk, and, so it's just, don't, it's just, I don't want to sound like an axle, just a freaking douche canoe. But people really need to get off their fucking high horse.
Oh yeah.
Because all you're doing is making more schism.
Right. And this is an amazing program. It deserves to be able to run what needs to be done.
Yeah. And so, to any group or any people that are out there listening as well, who are within, the confines of this quote unquote business of helping us out, I would really, really, really encourage, if I had my way, if I had $1 million, I'd swing that over everybody's nose. Be like, you want a chunk of this? Work together.
Right.
Because I guarantee you, if we all work together, if all these organizations came together and worked as one, worked on each other's, not only tried to lift up their organization, but try to lift up our organization. You know what I mean? We wouldn't have any homeless people.
Right.
There's enough freaking resources in this commonwealth, to do that. But, like you said, ego and pride and, I want to be above,
Right.
And it's just, no, this is supposed to be selfless work. It's supposed to be selfless work.
It is.
You know what I mean? And it's going to suck sometimes. It sucks for us every freaking day. You know what I mean? So, those who are willing, to put their wee-wees on the chopping block and try and, do something just to have it, slapped, out of their hands, it's not only is it diabolical, it's just, it's inhumane.
Right.
It's inhumane. And I just really want to encourage people, man, that if you're, God, just please, can we all just band together?
Right.
And make this city know that we want to be formidable, not just this organization.
Right.
We want to encourage my goodness, as I was saying like I said, I was saying, during that night out, when they had all the tables and stuff, I'm just listening, to people's, organizations and what they focus on and things like that. Like I said, we would be, an immovable force.
Oh yeah.
And there doesn't need to be all this, dichotomy, this whole, you say one thing to one person's face, but you're talking out the other side of your mouth,
Right.
So, I just wish everyone would stop all the childish.
Right.
It's childish.
It is.
And look at the bigger picture.
Yeah. So, kind of, if you could say something to someone who's struggling right now, who doesn't see a way forward, what would it be?
Well, one thing, me personally, that you have to have mantras when you're out there to keep yourself going. But one thing, I'd say myself regularly is that this is temporary. Everything in life is temporary.
I used to tell my kids that whether it's the best day of your life or the worst day of your life, it's only temporary.
Exactly. And that's one thing that, whatever your faith is or, whatever, hopefully you draw inspiration from that. But at the heart of it, I've been through enough, bullshit and tribulations in my life. And, I didn't get Unbreakable tattooed on my face for shits and giggles.
Right.
You know what I mean? I've weathered the storm and I've bounced back. and I look good as hell doing it. And, but just realize that this is temporary.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing you have to do is that you have to put the work into it. You have to realize that this isn't right.
Right.
And that you're worth more
Yes.
than what you're doing to yourself, or you're allowing yourself
Right.
to be put, these situations you allow yourself to be put under, and there's help out there.
Oh, yeah. There's people that genuinely want to help.
Yeah. And even just sitting down and talking, everyone knows that, I'm, sporadically out there, and not as out there as much as I used to be, because there's a lot of stuff that we're doing in here, trying to get, things a little bit more put together. It's an old building,
Right.
and we're trying to keep the historical part of it. But at the same time, make it so that way it's inviting. But yeah, just to know that, like, I just want to say to everybody out there is just, sometimes you just have to stop, stop your own cycle. Everybody has to have that critical thinking
Mm-hmm.
to be able to stop and look inward.
Right.
And not be shameful, not be guilty. I mean, those things, can be important to some people in realizing that they need to stop doing some of the destructive behavior
Right.
that they're doing. But that doesn't make them,
Mm-mm.
that doesn't make them a terrible person.
Oh, absolutely not.
You know what I mean? Like I was saying, my buddy that's out there, he's a stand-up guy, man. The guy is solid. I mean, I would trust him, and that is a big word for me to say, because I really don't trust. I got like 4 people in my entire, and I know a lot of people who I'd say that, I trust. And, it's just, people have to look at it, like I said, you can't look at it in a 2-dimensional way.
Right.
You can't look at it as someone who suffers from, BPD. I've fought years and years to not look at things so black and white. Either you're my friend or my foe.
Right.
If I could get over that, trying to be a better person, why can't you challenge yourself? Why can't, and I'm talking about on both ends. I'm talking about city officials, and I'm also talking about, my people who are still out there. It's in your hands.
Oh, yeah.
You need it. You just need to know that you're worth it.
Yep.
The breath that you draw every day is just as important as the mayor.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just as important as anybody else
Right.
who thinks that they're better than you.
Yep.
Because I will tell you this much right now. I always do. I know that I'm better than most people, especially in positions of city council members, because I've been, I was part of the heroin and opioid task force in Milwaukee. I was considered the expert, but I used to have to sit there with all the mayors of all the different cities and listen to their reports and tell them what I thought needed to happen, and we made a lot of things happen. That was very beneficial. I mean, I worked hard myself, to eradicate or at least lessen, some of these issues and some of these problems, because I know exactly what it is, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I am so guilty of so many things myself. I never proclaim myself to be a saint, or someone who's better than anybody else. And that is one thing that I want people to know out there, on both sides. It's, we're all humans. Why would you be okay with us freezing to death outside? How is that? Why is that justified? Why is that okay with you? You don't deserve it. You don't deserve to be outside.
Right.
So make it happen. Ask for help. City council, why do you think that I should freeze to death?
Right.
Why are you okay with that? Why are you willing to take something like Home Inc and constantly put us under threat
Right.
of closing it. You don't want us on the streets, dude. This program, I'm telling you, is not only saving lives, it is helping to rearrange people's perceptions
Right.
of themselves in a positive way, because a lot of these people, myself included, had a really, really, really shitty opinion of themselves. You know? And the only way a lot of people, I was at that point of suicide.
Yeah.
You know? And it's, you know, people don't understand how hard it is.
Right.
People they don't get it. They just want to chalk it up as just nice little neat fucking stereotype.
Right.
And, you know, you can take your stereotype and roll it up
I was gonna say,
real
you know what you
fucking
can do with it?
tightly and shove it, and take turns shoving it in each other's asses.
Right.
So, you know, the only thing I just want to encourage people is just keep your head up, keep
Absolutely.
fighting, and realize that you're better.
Right.
You're better than what you allow yourself to be,
Absolutely.
or what you tell yourself to be.
Alrighty. Corvid, thank you
Yeah,
for sitting down with me and sharing your story so openly.
thank you.
Your journey reminds us that progress isn't always fast,
No, yeah,
but every step counts.
yes it does.
Having a safe place to start again makes a world of difference.
Yes it does.
For those listening, if you want to learn more about Home Inc, Transitional Housing, or other resources here in Sheboygan, you can check out Pay It Forward's website at SheboyganAreaPayItForward.com or .org rather, or on Facebook, or whatever city resources you can find. Don't write it off. Give it the opportunity.
Absolutely.
As always, keep your heart open and pay it forward.